Okay, let's write number 1, mean, and I'm also going to write the symbol for mean. And standard deviation. All right, so I'm going to write down all the buttons that you're going to have to press by putting like square brackets around them. So you're going to press mode. Now, depending on which calculator you have, guys, some of you have the silver one, some of you have just the kind of regular one. So if you have the 82ZA, you're going to write 2 stat. Right, whatever your option is there, whatever the number is on yours. But if you have the silver one, which I think is at 991ZA or something, it's going to be option 3. The number doesn't matter, you obviously look for the stat option, right? Once you press that, you are going to press 1 for 1 minus var. Then you are going to type each value followed by equals. Then once you're done with all your values, you are going to press AC. Shift and 1. For var. So guys, when you do 1 minus var, you must choose var. All right, those two go hand in hand. And then if you choose option 2, which has that symbol, that will equal the mean. If you press option 3, which has this symbol, that will equal the standard deviation. You will always get 2 marks for the mean and 1 mark for the standard deviation, because when you are doing your first calculation, that's where you have to type in all the values, right? So it will take you a little bit longer to calculate the mean, because you have to first type in all the values, then get to shift 1, 4, and 2. But then when you're doing the standard deviation, you don't have to type all those values in again, right? You're just following from shift. Okay, so I'm going to make a note here. This is the actual like calculation steps. Everything that comes before that is just getting the information into the calculator. From shift 1, that's what you do when you have to do calculations. Now guys, sometimes, let me just quickly see if that happened in the next one. No. Sometimes they don't just give you a list of values, sometimes they give you a frequency table, which, yeah, even in the last 3 years, they didn't do it like that. But if you have a frequency table, right, what does a frequency table look like? Where you have like an interval, where you have like, let's say, a number of items in a table, and then you have the frequency. Then you're going to say like 0 to 10, 10 to 20, and 20 to 30. I'm just doing a very basic one. And your frequency here is 12, and here is 16, and this is 9, for example. right? This is a frequency table. And you'll know it's a frequency because it's going to have frequency as one of your headings. So say this was like a survey of people going to the shops, right? 12 people bought between 0 and 10 items. 16 people bought between 10 and 20, and 9 of them bought between 20 and 30. And they now want the mean of this, right? Now, guys, you can't follow these, well, you're going to follow the exact same steps, but there's just one extra thing that you're going to have to do. When you do your, sorry, let me just give you some time quickly to copy that down. I'm going to write next to it. Frequency table, therefore turn frequency on. Before we can type in our values, we are first going to have to change a setting so that we have an X column like we had in the previous one, but then we also need a frequency column. All right, we can't just type in 12, 16, and 9. All right, so to do that, you are going to press Shift and then Mode. Then if you do that, you'll see that there's there are lots of options there. Nowhere does it say stat, so you need to press the arrow button down, and there the third option is stat, right? So you are going to press down, and then option 3 is stat. And what then comes up on the screen is they are asking you frequency on or off. All right, since it's a frequency table, we want frequency on. All right, so I'm just going to write here what comes up on the screen is frequency. And you must then choose option 1, which is on. In the same way, if you have a question like we've just done where there's no frequency given, right? It's just one list of values. And you open your table and there's a frequency column, you don't want the frequency column there, you're going to follow the exact same steps and then you're going to choose option 2 for off. All right, so this is where you go when your table, where you have to fill in your values when it's not correct, basically. If it's just an X but you need a frequency column, then you are going to go to frequency on. If it's just a list of values and you open your calculator and there's a frequency column, then you must go back out, follow these same steps, and then select frequency off. All right, so if we choose on, it's just going to go straight to this again, a blank screen. And now we're going to follow the same steps that we did up here to get to our table. All right, so we're going to press mode, 2 for stat, 1 for 1 minus var, and now when the table comes up, you should see that there's an X column and a frequency column. Now guys, X, if we look here, the problem here is that X is now between 0 and 10. So what number am I now going to fill in to represent all of these values here between 0 and 10? What do you guys think? I can't type in 2 values, I have to type in 1. Guys, if we have to think of we're buying between 0 and 10 items, quickly tell me, is 0 included here? No, so this is actually 1 to 10, right? What we're going to fill in for X is actually going to be the midpoint of each of our intervals here. Okay, so if we're going from 0 to 10, actually what that means, so the way that this is written is actually from 1 to 10, because it's items, guys. We can't have a half of an item, right? You can't have 0,1 items. It has to be either 1 item or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. So how am I going to find the midpoint of that? How do you find the midpoint of an interval? You add them and you divide by 2. So I'm not adding 0 because 0 is not actually included in that list of that interval that they've given me, right? Because there's no line underneath that inequality symbol. It's actually from 1 to 10. So this, guys, is going to give me a midpoint of 5.5. So that is what you're going to fill in your x column. Right, we're going to do the same thing for 10 to 20 and 20 to 30. So I'm just going to write it here at the bottom. So from 10 to 20, is 10 included in this interval? No, 10 is actually included in the previous interval, right? We can't have 10 in both of them. So this one is actually only 11 to 20 items. So for the midpoint here, we are going to say 11 plus 20, and we are going to divide that by 2. And you can work it out on the calculator, but I'll just tell you for now, it's 15,5. And then for that last interval, 20 to 30, that's actually 21 to 30 items. So if you bought 21 items, then you will be in that list of 9 people. So for that midpoint, again, we're going to add 29 and 30 together, 21 and 30 together, and we are going to divide that by 2. And that will give us an answer of 25,5. This is what we fill in as our x value on the calculator. Yeah. So you're going to do these values for x, and then the actual frequency values in the table is what you're going to fill in for frequency, yes. Okay. All right, so guys, for each of these 3, we only have 3 rows in this table. We're going to fill in, what are we going to fill in for x for the first one? 5,5. 5.5 equals, then you'll see that it just puts in a frequency of 1 by itself. Don't worry about that. We'll fix that. What I always just do is I fill in all the x's first. So for the next one, x is 15,5. And for the last one, our x that we have to fill in is 25,5. Right, so fill in all your x values. And now, because the calculator put a frequency of 1 in that table automatically, obviously we didn't have frequencies of 1, right? We have 12, 16, and 9. We need to use our arrows to go back to the top and then fix those values. So the frequency of 5.5 is meant to be 12. So you just type 12 and then equals. The next one was 16 equals, and the last one is 9 equals. All right, and then again, you press AC from there. Now, guys, what we are calculating here is not the actual mean, it's actually the estimated mean or the approximate mean. Because we are saying, when we've typed this into the calculator, we are saying that 12 people bought 5.5 items, which obviously is not true, right? 12 people, maybe all of them bought only 1 item, right? But we don't know that. We don't have a list of how many items each person actually bought. So the best kind of estimation that we can use for all the people in the first interval is just to say they all bought 5.5, right? Even though you can't buy a half of an item. Okay, we are approximating, we're estimating. But some of them might have bought 9, maybe some of them bought 1, maybe some of them bought 5. We don't know. All right, so when we calculate this, it's not actually the proper correct answer. We can't get a correct answer because we don't know exactly how many items each of those people bought. All right, so for this, we are going to find the approximate mean. So you can just write approx mean like that. Again, we're going to type shift 1, 4 for var, and 2 for mean, and our answer is going to be 14,69 items. Which, guys, for the mean, the average, you don't round off. Okay, unless they tell you to. Because if we round up to 15 items now, that's actually not what the average is. Okay, so we have to leave it in decimal form, even though it's a bit strange because, like I said, you can't buy 14,69 items. Okay, so for these ones, please don't round off. If they want you to round off, they'll tell you. You round to 2 decimals, but you don't round off to a whole number, is what I mean.